What's going on, guys? Recon Jack here with my Team 5 matchup against Nathan and the Klee Legends. I'm pretty burnt out right now from recording, so please bear with me. It's probably going to be a lot of uhs and I don't know what's what. And I'm probably not going to do much editing to this video because I'm just pretty tired right now. So without further ado, let's hop into it. As you can see from our team lineups, English, he brought the Charizard, Klefki, Miss Magus, Zapdos, Salamence, and Metagross, and I brought my Electros, Heatran, Gardevoir, Celebi, Smeargle, and Murkrow. Just some things to note before starting the match. The Electros is a Volt switching, assault vested, max special attack with coverage Pokemon. Heatran is bulky offensive with Roar for any setup mons, as well as Toxic, Fire Blast, and Earth Power. Gardevoir is... what is Gardevoir? Is she a Mega Gardevoir? I believe she is Mega. Yes, she is Mega with Protect, Moonblast, Psyshock, and I forget the other move right now. Then there's Celebi, and she is specially defensive, max HP as well, with she had Recover, Toxic, Energy Ball, and Dazzling Gleam. Smeargle was Spore, Sticky Webs, Endeavor, Ice Shard, and this was actually an offensive Murkrow with Brave Bird, Sucker Punch, Defog, and Thunder Wave. So looking at this team matchup, he actually didn't bring some of the mons which I thought he might consider bringing, such as the Virizion, the Scrafty. He also had that Quagsire that he could have brought. I can see why he wouldn't want to with the Celebi running around in my... and I have a lot of grass coverage, what with Gardevoir being able to carry Energy Ball and Electros being able to carry Giga Drain, which they were both doing. Gardevoir's fourth move was Energy Ball. Definitely wasn't expecting the Chatot, and he didn't bring it. I know he was talking it up in the chat a lot prior to our match. I didn't think he would bring it, and he didn't. Anyways, looking at this lineup, I'm thinking he's either going to lead his Miss Magus, and that be a taunt, maybe sub-taunt kind of set, or his Metagross, which could set up rocks. Thought he might lead Miss Magus. I thought that was his best lead. Wasn't really sure, but I decided to lead off with my Electros here. He leads off with his Zapdos. So this was a very odd lead for me on his part. I thought that his Zapdos, I knew he'd be bringing his Zapdos, but I thought it was going to be a defensive variant, especially defensive actually, because my team has a really hard time dealing with specially defensive Zapdos. I don't have much for it, which is why I'm carrying Toxic on 3 of my mons, or is it 2 of my mons? Heatran and Celebi. Yes, it's 2 of my mons, Heatran and Celebi carrying Toxic. I actually made Celebi a specially defensive variant to deal with any form of Zapdos, whether that be offensive, defensive, what have you. I could Toxic stall it, because that was my one true fear from his team. But him leading the Zapdos led me to believe that it was Scarfed, which I think after the match he revealed that it was. So he goes for that Volt Switch, which was nice because I ended up going for the Volt Switch as well. So I get that. I get the favorable matchup here against the Klefki that he brings in, and I bring in my Heatran. I want to stay on the offensive here, so I'm going to go straight for that Fire Blast, and he's going to switch out into his Zapdos. The Fire Blast does 70% damage, which kind of shocked me because I wasn't sure if it was Scarfed yet. Yes, it was his lead. Yes, I was him leading it led me to believe it was Scarfed, but I wasn't sure yet because it outspeeds Electros no matter what, I'm pretty sure. So I didn't know, but this kind of confirmed it for me in my mind that that it was definitely an offensive set, because that Fire Blast to especially defensive Zapdos definitely wouldn't be doing 70%. So I saw that and I was extremely relieved. I thought it'd be a lot easier to deal with. Even being a Scarf set, I wasn't too worried about it. So I switch out back into my Electros as he chooses to Volt Switch again to get that matchup. And he brings in his Metagross. His Metagross chooses to go for the Gravity as I go for the Flamethrower, and I do about 45% to it. So this is where I completely threw away the game. Not that he didn't out-prep me, because he definitely did. Not that he played better than me, because in my opinion I still think he did play better than me, but I think that I threw away the game right here with this next play. So I thought that Gravity nullified the Levitate ability and allowed flying type Pokemon to get hit. I did not know that it also nullifies items like Air Balloon. So I thought that I'd be safe switching in my Air Balloon Heatran on this Metagross, at least for the first turn before he broke my Air Balloon. So I switch in my Heatran on his predicted Earthquake, and my balloon decides that it wants to deflate in the Gravity, and Heatran gets fucking bodied. So at that point, looking at his team, Heatran was my answer to his Mega Charizard, to his Klefki, to his Metagross. I just didn't know what to do after losing it, because I thought that I'd be able to work around with the Air Balloon a lot more effectively. But instead I lose it in the first turn of Gravity, or is that the second turn? Second turn of Gravity to this Metagross, which was highly unfortunate. So I bring out my Smirgle and I was like, you know what? I don't really know what to do right now. I'm just gonna put something to sleep, and we're just gonna have to go from there and try to get back up in this match. So I click Spore, and apparently he's carrying Lumberry on his Metagross. I should have expected that. I don't know why. I thought that would be a lead for him, and it would make sense to carry a Lumberry on a lead, especially against a lead Smirgle with Spore, at which point he could just Earthquake me, or I'd Spore him because I'd outspeed a Metagross. He'd wake up, he'd Earthquake me, knock me down a Sash, and then knock me out with a priority Bullet Punch. Definitely should have seen that coming. I have no idea why I went for Spore, because I predicted that to be a lead Metagross. So I switch out because I want to save that Endeavor, because I might be able to outspeed the Klefki, or I don't really know. But in my mind, I wanted to save the Endeavor Ice Shard for something. So I switched out so that my Smargle didn't get KO'd with the Bullet Punch. Switched out to my max HP Celebi, who takes the Bullet Punch pretty well. And here I was debating to either go... Sorry about that, guys. My computer decided to shut off on me mid-recording, so we're back. Alright, where was I? Right, so here, I was debating between either going for the Toxic, predicting a switch into something else, anything else, because I thought he might fear the Sucker Punch, because of the physical set that I brought last week, or I was debating thinking about going for the Recovered just to scout out what he would go for, because I thought that Celebi might be able to take any hit that he had, and just being scouting with that Recover could potentially help me make a better switch or into something, or I don't really know. But I do end up going for the Toxic, predicting the switch out into maybe the Zapdos that could hit me with a Heat Wave or Flying type move, or the Charizard or Salamence or something. But he decides to stay in, and my volume is on, and he goes for the Explosion. So I completely waste a turn there trying to Toxic a Steel type Pokemon, and he explodes in my face and does a fuck ton of damage. And then he takes this opportunity to switch into his Charizard, and shit's just not going my way this match, and I can't switch out. I have nothing that wants to switch in to the Mega Charizard X, and he goes for the Shadow Claw. I didn't even consider that being a move that he was going to bring. I thought he'd bring like Dragon Dance, Flare Blitz, Earthquake, and fuck, I guess Shadow Claw was actually very viable. So yeah, he Shadow Claws me to death, and I bring out my Electros because I want to get a nice Dragon Pulse off on this Charizard, and I'm still at an amount of health where I think that I could take any hit from this Charizard. So he goes for the Dragon Claw. I do end up living, and I get a nice Dragon Pulse off, doing about 60% damage. I want to conserve my Electros, and I knew that he'd predict my Gardevoir coming in on that Dragon Claw, so I thought that it'd be a safe switch into my Smirgle with it being a normal type and him already revealing that Shadow Claw. It wouldn't hit me, so I do bring in my Smirgle, and he does try to knock my Electros out with the Shadow Claw, so it does no damage, and I'm staring at this Charizard X in the face with my 1% HP Smirgle, and I don't even know why I did that, because there's nothing my Smirgle can do against this Charizard. Even though it is a max attack Smirgle with Ice Shard, Smirgle's attack is so pitiful, and Ice Shard isn't stab, it's 40 base power, and it's neutral against a Mega Charizard X. So I didn't know why I thought this would do anything, but I wanted to get a little bit more damage off, I guess, since I already brought in Smirgle. So I go for the Ice Shard. I think I do 5%. I do 5% damage, and he knocks me out with an Earthquake. So I bring in my Murkrow, and at this point he doesn't know what kind of Murkrow it is, and I really want to T-Wave this Charizard, but I can't T-Wave it yet because he has the Zapdos. Now, I don't run calcs when I do matches. I didn't think he'd stay in against me, so I think Brave Bird would have been a safe option to go for. And I think that if he did bring in the Zapdos, it not being defensive, even though it wasn't very effective, Brave Bird would still KO it at the health that it was at. I'm not really sure, but I go for the Sucker Punch. I don't even know why I was trying to play it safe at this point, because I'm already so far behind in the match. I should have just, like, when you get so far behind in a match like this, you need to be aggressive in your plays. You need to make those hard predictions, because if you don't, and he just plays around you, then he wins anyway. If you play safe when you're so far behind, you're probably gonna lose. Or especially like in the situation that I'm in, with Electros pretty much being dead, and me just having this Murkrow and Gardevoir left against his 5 Mons. I should have clicked Brave Bird, basically is what I'm trying to say. But instead I go for the Sucker Punch, trying to play it safe, and he ends up switching out to his Zapdos. So my Sucker Punch fails, and I click Sucker Punch again because I don't know why I clicked Sucker Punch again, because revealing the Sucker Punch, he knew that I'd probably go for it again. He knew he could get a better matchup against me. So he double switches, which is a very good play on his part, and he switches into his Klefki, which I don't know why that I thought Brave Bird wouldn't hit for as much as it did against his Klefki, but I thought that Brave Bird wouldn't do much. I thought that I knew Sucker Punch wouldn't do much, even if he attacked me at all. But so I decide that, oh, Never mind. I'm ahead of myself right now. I switch out into Electros, and he Toxics me. So he's putting timers on my Pokemon, and that's a priority Toxic. So everything is gonna get fucking toxic here. He switches out, knowing that I'm gonna go for the Flamethrower. He switches into his Zapdos. I knock out that Zapdos. Good job, Electros. Putting in some work, I guess. I died to the Toxic. And now we reset, and we're back to square one with this whole Klefki Murkrow matchup, which he wins. Probably 10 times out of 10, he wins this matchup. All right, I'll say 9 times out of 10 because maybe I'm creative sometimes and do creative things, but not this time. So I pulled the double into Gardevoir because I thought this would, I don't know why, I thought this would be a good time to set up. I think instead of doing this, I should have just stayed in Bravebirded. I don't know how to say that. Bravebirded. I should have stayed in and Bravebirded his Klefki because I did not have anything to touch Klefki with on my Gardevoir. So he gets the light screen up. And of course, that's an amazing play on his part because my entire team is our special attackers. So of course he'd bring the light screen. I don't know what I was expecting. He prepped very well for my team. But so I do 16%, which is nothing. I would have still been doing nothing to this Klefki. I switch out. At this point, I know the game is pretty much locked up. I decide to paralyze it. Maybe I can get some para hacks going, and he just gets paralyzed every single turn while I try to whittle it down, but he doesn't, and I get toxic. And my Brave Bird actually does a decent amount of damage, 40%. I don't know how this could have gone if I had stayed in and not switch out into Gardevoir and just kept trying to Brave Bird the Klefki first. But I still probably would have lost. I just think that the differential could have been better than it was for me. So I crit the Klefki with a Psyshock. I'm trying to preserve my Murkrow, and he brings out his Mismagius behind a light screen. Not that that matters because it outspeeds my Gardevoir anyway. It knocks it out with a Shadow Ball, and I have a very low health Toxic Murkrow. The game's over. So I thought that so he knows that I have a Sucker Punch. And I thought that since I dropped Toxic this turn, I thought that he'd predict the Sucker Punch and switch out into something else and preserve his 3-0. So I went for the Brave Bird. Maybe, like, if he switched out into his Charizard, I'd be able to knock it out with a Brave Bird. Life Orb Brave Bird, and I could get the 2-0 instead. So I went for the Brave Bird instead of the Sucker Punch, trying to get a better, trying to predict a switch and get a better differential. But he stays in and he Thunderbolts me, which tells me, or leads me to believe at least, that he was Focus Sash, because then he'd still be able to preserve his 3-0 regardless if I Sucker Punch or not. So he knocks my Murkrow out with a Thunderbolt, and that's GG. Nathan, he takes Week 5 with a nice 3-0 victory over the Steel City Snorlax. This kind of goes back to what I said in my last video about how I think that a lot of matches, or I think I said this in my last video, but I might have just thought it, I don't know. But I do think a lot of matches, especially in league format, are determined in prep. Yes, it does matter how good of a battler you are and what your mindset is going into the battle, during the battle, how well you're able to predict and all that stuff. That all matters. But over anything, I think it's prep time and how well you're able to prep for your opponent. And he definitely out-prepped me this match. He brought the priority light screen. He brought gravity on his Metagross and Lumberry. I was talking to him after the match, and he brought a especially defensive variant of Salamence. I'm still not sure about the Mismagic set, but I do think it was Focus Sash, which is also great. And then Charizard wasn't even carrying a Fire type move because he knew I'd bring Heatran, which is awesome. He did a really good job, and I just wanted to applaud him for his prep. This is the second time that I've been fucked over by field effects, so I'm really gonna have to go back and look at the basics and really look at potential moves that my opponents can bring and really figure out what they can do, because I learned that I don't know everything that I thought I did about field effects, and that leads me to believe that there are a lot of other things that I'm probably missing that would be worth knowing going into my future matches. So thank you, Nathan, for opening up my eyes to that fact. Always a humbling experience. Good job on the win. Thank you all for watching, and good luck in everyone's future matches, unless you're up against me, and hopefully I prepare better and we'll have a good match. Anyways, this is Recon Jack signing off.